welcome to the third and final day of round 5 of the World Rally Championship, the Cyprus Rally. Traditionally held in summer or autumn, this year's rally has moved to springtime, and the change in weather has taken its toll on the event. Based in the city of Limassol on the island's south coast, with the 20 stages run high in the mountains, and so often getting completely different weather. The dramas began early on the rally's first day. Among the first to have problems was Peugeot's Gilles Panizzi. His teammate Richard Burns struggled with the setup on his first gravel rally for his new team, while the unluckiest man on day one must be Subaru's Peter Solberg, who lost 4 minutes with a string of problems. Fastest on the very first stage was Ford's Colin McRae, who led going into day 2. There were in fact 2 Fords in the podium positions, Marco Martin winning a stage on the way to ending day 1 in 3rd place, while Marcus Gronholm was the man separating the 2 focuses. Day 2 then saw more in the way of dramas, like Alistair McRae's role on stage 8. Another driver with that upside down feeling was Harry Rovanpera. Day 2 though saw the weather take a turn for the worse. Stage 12 looked more like Great Britain than Cyprus.
Too bright, mate, it's tight and long, don't cut slippy.
Hyundai's Freddie Loix was one of those who wouldn't come out of the rain-soaked stage, while others slipped and slithered their way through the mud. Francois Delacour lost over 6 minutes when his Mitsubishi's wipers failed, but he fared quite well compared to Tony Gardemeister in the Skoda. He lost around 10 minutes with a similar problem. They say only mad dogs and Englishmen go out in the midday sun, but this British spectator was out on his own in the rain to support Colin McRae.
It's probably the worst stage you've ever done. It was terrible, really bad.
Others too were astonished by the conditions on stage 12.
Most terrible stage in my life. Here is dry, but in the forest completely was raining. Water all over the road,
Peter Solberg recovered to end day 2 in 8th place, setting 4 fastest stage times on the way. But it was the flower of Scotland, Colin McRae, who still led, having extended that lead to over 26 seconds from Marcus Gronholm. Tommy Mäkinen was 3rd, like his Subaru teammate Solberg having a much better second day, with the reigning world champion Richard Burns in 4th place.
They have the right man, 15 right man there, right 40, medium left right there, the medium left.
Harry Rovanpera was 5th, his Peugeot still showing evidence of his earlier role, while Marco Martin and co-driver Michael Clark were 6th, a listed up windscreen slowing the Ford pair in the rain of stage 12. This, in fact, was how things looked after 2 of the 3 days. One more stood between Colin McRae and his first win of the year, but Marcus Gronholm would be determined to continue Peugeot's winning streak. 8th placed Peter Solberg, meanwhile, was equally as determined to salvage something from what had been a frustrating rally for the Norwegian. And so, to day 3. After day 1 to the north of the host city Limassol and day 2 to the west, day 3 was to the east, a loop of 3 stages, repeated, giving 6 in all, a total of around 82 kilometres. After all his problems and subsequent recovery, Peter Solberg was back to his old self.
Put it in some extra boost.
Stage 15 was the first of the day, and we can take a closer look thanks to Virtual Spectator. The Mandra Cambiu stage was a 19-kilometre affair, lots of typical Cypriot twists and turns, but also some faster stretches like this straight, and more flowing corners. But those 19 kilometres would still take the cruise over 16.5 minutes to complete. Just as on day 2, the top 15 run in reverse order, so the sole surviving Hyundai of Armin Schwarz started the stage ahead of the men, scrapping for the top 6 places.
In left for short minus, into right 2, 20.
Amazingly, after all his dramas on day 1, those drivers now included Peter Solberg, but he lost exactly 7 seconds to the man ahead of him. That man was Marco Martin, who knew Ford were relying on him to score manufacturer points. But stage 15 belonged to Peugeot, whose car set all of the top 3 times. Fastest was the 206 of Harry Rovanperä, and co-driver Risto Pietalainen.
Lyhyt vasen eri 3. Pitkä vasen K-kirraa yli 3. Lyhyt vasen täys 3. Pitkä oikea eri 7. Vai vasen K.
The Skoda of Ken Eriksson dropped 2 places to 9th with rear transmission and suspension problems, which allowed both Schwarz and Solberg to move up the leaderboard. Now much happier with the Peugeot on gravel, Richard Burns set the 2nd fastest time and so moved to within 6 seconds of Mäkkinen's 3rd place.
60 slow here right, 60 right, minus 40. Slight left hand, flat right 50. Slowly left height, sticky left minus height 20. Fast right, low at 20 key left. Slippy exit 50.
4th fastest, Mäkkinen Subaru was the best of the non-Peugeots, and with 5 more stages to go, it was clear the 4-time world champion wasn't giving up just yet. But what of the 2 men fighting for victory? Turner stormed through the stage, setting the 3rd quickest time behind his 2 teammates.
3, vasen hidas. 4. Ja vasen oikein hidas. Vasemmalle 2 ja vasen hidas. Ja oikein hidas kirraa. Ja vasen nopea aukeaa.
Colin McRae, however, was given the wrong split time by his team. Thinking he was more or less equal with Grunho when he was actually 9 seconds slower, McRae continued to pace and was furious to discover he'd lost a further 3.5 seconds by the stage finish. Stage 16 was only around 13 kilometres in length, but it was long enough for Carlos Sainz and Lewis Hamilton to lose 35 seconds or so when they broke their car's power steering.
Ahí la baja. Para derecha casi abren. Hemos hecho pupa, ¿no? Para Sandy, izquierda, buena más, izquierda.
No such problems for Petter Solberg and Phil Mills. They were 6th fastest and by now 6th overall, moving into the points for the first time since the morning of day 1. An incredible recovery. The pair who'd been in 6th place going into the stage came out of it in 8th. Marco Martin and Michael Park cutting a left-hand bend just a little too much.
Sorry, it's okay.
Most people would get out of the car to check the damage, but not rally drivers. With the car on its wheels and the flames having died down, Martin engages first gear and the pair are off again. Just a handful of seconds lost. Seeing the accident from another angle confirms just how lucky they've been. Richard Burns and Robert Reid were battling to get onto the podium. Listen for Robert Reid announce their time as he checks the stopwatch at the end of the stage.
Then 20, easy right minus 20, slow medium left and medium left, 30. 10, 5, 7.
10 minutes, 57.5 seconds their time. It was now down to Tommy Mäkinen and Kai Lindström to match or better that performance.
Ja vähän liukas pitkä oikein nopea. 4. Lyhyt oikein, eli 10.
They did. 1.7 seconds quicker. They set the fastest time on the stage. Marcus Grönholm and Timo Rautiainen were 4th quickest, losing 3 seconds to Mäkinen after picking up 2 punctures. The question was, what would McRae do?
Eri, jatkuu oikein nopea, kivi sisällä. 5 ja vasen nopea.
They didn't have long to wait for the answer. McRae, still annoyed at the split time error on the previous stage, had decided to attack and open up the gap once again. A As co-driver Nicky Grist reads off the pace notes, the pair have no idea that the rock which caught out Martin lies just ahead.
Okay, we cleared the stage. Unfortunately, we've rolled in there. We've lost the power steering. Other than that, it's not driving too badly. We're going to stop and check the damage now shortly.
Stop they did, but the damage was all too apparent. As well as the bodywork and the power steering, they'd lost 19 seconds and their lead to the Peugeot. So a 26-second lead for McRae at the start of the day had become a 5.5-second lead for Gronholm, while it was now Solberg in 6th place. Behind the point-scoring places, Schwarz and Martin still had a chance of grabbing some glory, with the rest now too far back to trouble the pair. Spectators had to climb every mountain to get a good view of stage 17, but there were a number of drivers who wished they hadn't. Tony Gardemeister picked the worst possible spot to stall his Skoda, right in front of our camera, although others wouldn't get off so lightly. All of the Fords were now suffering from power steering failure. Carlos Sainz was only 25th fastest on the stage, while Marco Martin fared even worse after his had failed following the roll. The Estonian was 27th quickest, losing nearly a minute to Ericsson in the process, although at least he was still 8th. Petter Solberg's comeback after the nightmare of day 1 was still going superbly. Now on course to score a point for himself and 2 points for his team, he relaxed just a little too soon, just before stage 17's last corner in fact.
Short one, right plus. Oh no.
Solberg's roll allowed Schwarz to grab 6th place and also took a little of the pressure off Capri Rovanperä. It was just as well. The Finn punctured all 4 tyres, though Michelin's roost system had gone flat, and so incredibly he still set the 4th quickest time. Richard Burns clearly still had one eye on a podium place. He and co-driver Robert Reed were 2nd fastest on stage 17, moving a further 5 seconds clear of Rovanperä. But the man who currently occupied the 3rd place Burns wanted so badly went fastest again.
Heti pidon pitkä oikein nopea, miinus vähän liukas, aukee. Ja pidon pitkä vasen nopeutus, helppo. Ja pitkä oikein.
Tommy Mäkinen won his 2nd stage in a row to increase the gap from the Subaru to the Peugeot to nearly 10 seconds. Gronholm, like Rovanperä, suffered punctures on the stage, 2 in his case, but the Moose also kept them from deflating. The 2000 world champion was then even quicker than his colleague, 3rd fastest on the stage. Colin McRae also shared problems with his teammates, but wasn't so fortunate. The lack of power steering came at exactly the wrong time for McRae, who lost a further 45 seconds to Gronholm. Nicky Grist's door flying open suggests just how bad the damage caused by their roll had been, and it was now down to their mechanics to keep them in the rally.
We got the wrong split time in the first stage, so I backed off and all the rough stuff at the end. You know, thinking losing maybe sort of 5 or 6 seconds to Marcus, but it was the wrong split time we were showing. We lost 12 seconds to him, so we had to push harder again in the next one, because the middle one of these stages is the one that we, was suited us best. Unfortunately, just pushed a bit too hard and caught the inside of a corner and rolled over.
I think it was the last corner before the finish line, and I just rolled very slowly on the roof.
There was something inside the corner under the push, so I couldn't see it, and probably it was a rock or something, and we rolled.
Marcus, are you surprised to have gone from 2nd to 1st, but with a 50-second lead? That's a huge margin.
Yes, Colin rolled, so that was the reason. But okay, I won also him on the first stage quite a lot. I don't know why. My driving was not especially good.
At Ford, there were 3 sets of power steering defects, plus all of McRae's damage. As team boss Malcolm Wilson looked on, a new windscreen was just one of the items his mechanics had to change. To McRae's relief, they worked their usual miracles, and 20 minutes later, he left on time. Stage 18, and just as on the previous day, the weather had taken a turn for the worse. On day 2, Solberg had taken full advantage of the rain to set a string of fastest stage times, and he duly did so again, moving back past Armin Schwarz in the process.
Don't cut things short, keep in mind, it's very narrow. 5 left, 20, keep right of a jump, 50, slippy maybe, 1 left last tighten. Into 5 right.
Rovanpera's Peugeot, though, was still nearly a minute ahead of the Subaru, and so it looked as though the Norwegian would struggle to catch the Finn. Of just how bad the conditions were from our helicopter, although Kenneth Eriksson got a much more close-up view. His rear bumper trailing after a similar encounter with the scenery, Richard Burns was 7th fastest, all of the Peugeots managing to get rain tyres in time. But, more importantly, the Englishman was over 13 seconds quicker than Mäkinen, so the 206 had finally got past the Impreza.
40 metre right minus 2k right plus tightens maybe 20k left. Narrows 20, 19 left plus. Narrow to medium, opens to medium left, 20k right tightens back.
Mäkinen wasn't able to match Solberg's pace in the wet of stage 18, but only a little over 3.5 seconds now separated Tommy from Richard, and with 2 more stages remaining, the Finn knew anything could still happen. Kronholm was a lowly 10th fastest. The quickest of the Peugeot drivers, in fact, was Panizzi, who had been helped by running through the stage before the rain came. Surely, though, with McRae over 50 seconds down, it was now too late for the Ford driver to strike back. Clearly, no one had told McRae that. It was obvious that he was back in attack mode and was determined to make up as many of those 50 seconds as possible. As history has shown time and again, however, when Colin is in that kind of mood, he does one of 2 things: win or have a spectacular accident.
Colin, you're still in the rally?
Yeah, we're still in, but I think we dropped about 2 minutes. I'm not sure what position we are, but we've got no wipers, that's the problem, so I hope the rain stays off.
Do you think you can catch up some time?
It depends on the position and who's in front and who's behind. We'll have to look at the times now.
McRae's second roll of the day had dropped him out of the points, so it was now a Peugeot 1-2, with Burns having leapt from 4th to 2nd in a single stage, and Solberg now 5th. All wasn't completely lost for McRae, though. Less than 10 seconds now separated him from Armin Schwarz's 6th place, and a single point. On stage 19, Burns was 3rd fastest. He'd learnt a lot about the 206's gravel capabilities over the last few days, and 2nd place would be a relief after such a frustrating opening day.
K right plus to flat left 80 fast right to minus.
But Mäkinen clearly had other ideas. His tyres worked far better on stage 19, and he was fastest, retaking 2nd place from Burns. The pair would go into the final stage just 1.6 seconds apart. Kronholm, though, was out on his own. His lead was now over 1 minute and 6 seconds, and he could afford to ease off a little. Sure enough, he was only 10th fastest. This sorry-looking vehicle started out as a Ford Focus, but Colin McRae had added a few bodywork modifications. No matter how it looked, though, 6th fastest, it was now within 4 seconds of taking 6th place away from Schwarz. The rally's final stage was also its shortest, a repeat of the 9-kilometre stage 17. Schwartz's new Hyundai honours were at stake and stormed through the stage in a time of 7 minutes 49.3 seconds. But would it be enough for the German to hang on to 6th place? Solberg's Subaru, meanwhile, was 6th fastest on the stage, confirming his 5th place, 2 drivers' points and 3 manufacturer points. Rovanperä was 2nd fastest, so he could finish 4th, picking up 3 points for his efforts. After struggling to come to terms with his new car early on, Burns set the fastest time on the stage, but knew that whether or not he retook that 2nd place was now out of his hands. He had done all he could. Mäkinen would now decide it.
Right, plus 50. Richard finished the stage.
Tommy set off into the stage, determined that the 6 points for 2nd place were his.
Servo oikein. Ja pirun pitkä vasen nopea virraa. 15.
That spin, though, meant that at the very last moment Mäkinen slipped from 2nd back to 3rd once again. It had, though, been a thrilling finish to the rally, if Tommy could see the funny side.
Cheers. See you later. Bye. Bye.
3rd place.
3rd.
Subject
To no one's surprise, Gronholm again cruised through stage 20. 8th fastest, it was more than enough to secure victory for the Finn, his 2nd of the year, and an incredible 4th successive win for Peugeot, despite the fact that he'd not won a single stage.
Oikein nopea. Hyvä kausi.
Colin McRae knew that the victory should rightly have been his. 6 seconds faster than Schwartz, at least he managed to drag the battered Focus into 6th place, but he wasn't happy.
We went from 10 points to 0. Looks like we've got 1 point. So.
Confirmation then of Gronholm's victory from Burns, so this was also Peugeot's 4th 1-2 finish in a row. Mäkinen, Rovanperä, Solberg and a fuming McRae rounded off the top 6, while Schwartz claimed the last manufacturer point for Hyundai. Once again, Cyprus had proved itself to be a car breaker. In the Drivers' Championship, Gronholm's lead has grown to 11 points, with Burns now a single point behind Panizzi in 3rd. Victory would have lifted Colin McRae into 4th ahead of Mäkinen, but as it is, he has just 6 points from 5 events.
Colin, the car says it all. You must be bitterly disappointed.
Yeah, we are for sure. I mean, it started off bad this morning, but it was still a 2nd place, and then that sort of disappeared in the 2nd last stage.
Did you win this rally, or did Colin McRae lose it?
Maybe both. I can't say. Okay, I won it, and he lose. Yes, okay. But sometimes like this, and sometimes in other way.
Richard 2nd on the podium after a terrific battle with Tommy.
Yeah, it was quite interesting that last stage, because we were just 1.5 seconds behind Tommy, and I knew we weren't really on the right tyre for the last stage. It was completely dry, so I pushed very, very hard, and fortunately Tommy made a mistake.
Yeah, we were a bit unlucky last 3 stages with our tyre choice. We chose our tyre for more dry condition, and unfortunately again it started raining very heavily.
In the Manufacturers Series, Peugeot have an enormous lead thanks to those 4 successive 1-2 finishes.
This year, this result is the fruit of a huge work, deep work made by the engineers in order to develop the car and make it stronger for this type of rallies.
Even as Burns and Gronholm sprayed the champagne, the others, notably McRae, Solberg and Mäkinen, were already planning their revenge. Round 6 promises to be equally as exciting, equally as incident-packed as Round 5. Until May the 17th and the Rally Argentina from Cyprus. Goodbye.
Ja oikealle ja vasemmalle pitkä hidas ojat kivettisellä. Ja vasen täys. 5 ja oikein tosi hidas.